I'm about to show you the worst hockey jerseys ever, and they were just unveiled. Much worse than this. Hey, Joel Palin, and welcome to another edition of the Hockey Talk Show. This is a quick hit. We're doing a bunch of these before we get to the live shows coming up streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Again, follow us on both Facebook and YouTube. Just search for the Hockey Talk Show. You can find all the links at hockeytalkshow.com, and make sure you get the notifications, and you're seeing the notifications first on Facebook by following us, not just liking the page, and you're hitting that bell on the YouTubes. All right, let's get into hockey jerseys. We have to talk about this today because I think we've just seen the unveiling of the absolute worst, most disgusting hockey jerseys that I have ever seen, and they come from the upcoming Olympics. Take a look at these bad boys. These are, I feel like I should put a parental advisory on this at first. Maybe you don't want your children seeing this. It might give them nightmares. It might scare them terribly. I'm not quite sure. But it's going to hit your screen. Be ready. Ugh. Awful. Just awful. These are the Team USA jerseys that were just unveiled for the upcoming Olympics. And now I know why the National Hockey League refused to participate. I mean, these things are disgusting. I talked about this on a previous episode of the Hockey Talk Show. You know, I said hockey jerseys are the greatest jerseys of all the sports. Like, it's not even close. Like, baseball uniforms are cool. Basketball uniforms are all number and number and name on the back. It's just not great. Football, same thing. You know, it's all number. The football, you got the helmets. All right, that's one thing, but it's just not that great. Hockey's the greatest jersey ever because there's striping. There's all the great colors. The logo sits on your chest with pride. You can wear it with pride. And then Nike just goes ahead and drops this absolute disgusting vomit bomb on us with this that I don't even like keeping it up on the screen. I don't even like keeping it up on the screen. This we are seeing on Twitter, courtesy of Stephen Wino. This came across my feed, and just awful, just awful, just horrific, meaningless letter types in here. Just zero imagination. The only real design comes from these sleeves, there's just this jaggedy awfulness to it. Why you need an alternate jersey that is just a brighter color blue, and then you take those same three letters and you just slant them. I mean, it's beyond me. This is disgusting. And then to make matters even worse, you take this awesome USA patch that we've seen on prior jerseys and you shrink it and stick it all the way up in the corner. I mean, just a horrific amount of design. Take a look at this here, courtesy of sportslogos.net. Here's a different look at the same exact jerseys. You can see the sleeve detail on here just a little bit more. There's the alternate jersey with the angled lettering. Just awful. Just awful. Team Canada jerseys, you can see there. I mean, same sort of weird sleeve design, just unoriginal, non-traditional for hockey, just terrible. I've seen a lot of these non-traditional, hockey. Like I said, I made this, when we talked about jerseys last time, I made this point that hockey's got a wonderful tradition. And I believe that in the National Hockey League, they should be wearing specialty jerseys a little bit more. Wear a pink jersey for Breast Cancer Awareness Month during the game, not just during warm-ups. You want to celebrate your inaugural season like the Tampa Bay Lightning did? Wear it during the game. We're seeing a lot of these teams wear these specialty warm-up jerseys. And like I said, if you stop to get nachos, if the line's a little long for the bathroom, then you're not going to see the jerseys at all. It stinks. You're asking people to show up 45 minutes before the game to see the specialty jersey that they're there to celebrate that night. To me, that's utter ridiculousness. So I believe that the National Hockey League should be wearing, specialty jerseys on occasion. That being said, I love the traditional sweaters of the National Hockey League. The simple striping, the clean classic look of some of the jerseys. And to then take a look at these things, I mean, it's just disgusting. Thank goodness Nike is not in charge of the hockey jerseys that we have in the National Hockey League, because we would be in all sorts of trouble. Now, that being said, I want to again take this moment to commend the National Hockey League and Adidas. The Adidas jerseys are the greatest jerseys I have ever seen in this league ever, period. End of sentence. No doubt in my mind, they've done a phenomenal job with the Adidas jerseys. They've taken the greatest traditional elements of the sweaters and they've incorporated them, yet they've made this new sort of sleek, more form-fitting look, and it just looks fresh and new, yet traditional at the same time. They're beautiful jerseys. Case in point, I really want to pull in and focus in here on the New Jersey Devils jersey, because I think here's a prime example of where Adidas just went ahead and did a phenomenal job. This coming courtesy of coolhockey.com. Here is a look at the Devils jersey. Simplicity. Just simplicity. Now, the Devils, I feel, always had a boring jersey, but if you take a look at what Adidas did, they didn't do much, but they did all the right things. They eliminated this white piping around the neck, and they just went with a simple red neck. I think maybe one of the most important, well, two of the most important elements of this jersey. They take the black that hangs ugly off the shoulders here, and they shorten it up tight up here, sort of almost that football shoulder pad length, right there up on the sleeve, which just to me looks amazing. I mean, it gives it that modern look, and it doesn't change the traditional flow and feel of the sweater. Here's something else, and you can call me a nerd face for being this into the jerseys, but let me tell you something. If I didn't have this show, I still would be looking at these jerseys this way. I love analyzing a jersey. I love all the detail. I love everything about hockey jerseys. I got like 40 jerseys. I was thinking about hanging jerseys in the background here, but I was like, let me be the one internet talk show about hockey that doesn't have hockey jerseys hanging in. I didn't want to go down that cliched route. But we do have a couple of hockey sticks back here and my helmet for some reason. The set's terrible. We'll work on the set. But anyway, back to the Devils jersey here. Just take a look at that. It's just, I like the way it falls on the show. To me, it makes the player look more impressive, intense, tougher, whatever you want to say. The other super important thing I think they did, which again, it's a small detail, but to me, it makes a world of difference. It just makes the jersey look better. And no better an example than the Devils, who have traditionally had boring jerseys. They take the piping over here on the arm, they move it up, which they've done on a lot of their jerseys, which makes, to me, all the jerseys look better. Having that shoulder, having that sleeve piping brought up a little bit. They made the white thicker. You notice that? They made the black small and they made the white. They almost made 3 panels here that are identical in size as far as height goes. And I don't know what it is, but I just love it. Now, so when I first saw the Devils take the ice, I go, they look good. What's different? So it took me a while to even figure it out. And to me, that's the sign of a good jersey. Like, that's the sign of good design, when you can notice that something's different and you like it before you actually are able to pinpoint what that is and identify it. Like, that is what good design is all about. So 2 simple things. They shortened the shoulders on the side here, the black, and they made the white a little bit bigger on the side. Makes all the difference in the world. Now, they put this black little piping down on the bottom, which again, I think just gives a little bit more of a modern feel and doesn't really change the origins of the jersey all that much. Another one I want you to look at quickly here is the St. Louis Blues. This is the Reebok jerseys of the St. Louis Blues, which I like. I liked it a lot. I like their alternates. I thought it was nice at the time when they first came out with it. Got the established 1967 inside the collar. I think that's a beautiful little detail. Same thing happens. St. Louis Blues get on the ice. I see them for the first time and I say, damn it, that jersey looks better. What is it? And again, it took me a little while, but if you take a look at their Reeboks, Again, the shoulders, the sleeve, the piping on the sleeve is up a little higher. But the main difference with the St. Louis Blues jerseys, why I think they're so much more impressive, is right here. White lettering on the numbers. Let me switch back so you can see. Yellow on the old and white on the name. White all around on both. Now, I don't know what it is, but to me, this jersey just looks so much better. Stands out so much more to me with that one little tiny detail. They didn't have to go and reinvent the wheel. They just put enough time and effort into these little tiny details that I feel like it really made the difference in these jerseys. And again, these shots courtesy of shop.nhl.com. We thank them for that. I think it's just tremendous. I think it's honestly just tremendous. It's a beautiful thing. Tradition, sleek. It looks good. And then you have this awfulness. Look at this. Blah, lack of imagination. When you take a look at them all side by side, they look like soccer jerseys. Soccer jerseys stink. I don't care what anybody says. They stink. Just that gradient blending and all that. There's no room in a hockey jersey for gradient blending. Now, I've traditionally seen these three jerseys, which I'm going to showcase for you as the worst jerseys ever. Here they are. There's, oops, sorry about that. From SI.com, there's Gretzky in that, again, gradient fading, not really all that good. Now, the image you're seeing on the screen is a shot from the 90s. Now, what happened in the 90s is printing technology changed. So they were able to do these things. They got all excited and a little bit worked up, and they decided to go ahead and do it and drop some of the traditional things that they did. I think it was effective in getting young kids involved in the game, so I think it was important. Do I think it was a good move? No. Did it last? No. It was gone pretty quick, so I can forgive some of these moves. But, I'm not ashamed. I'm not trying to forget these jerseys, but they were bad. They were steps in the wrong direction for the National Hockey League. This one is traditionally viewed as terrible. I hate this Dallas Stars one. They added the red, the bull, the whole thing. It's just a swooshy thing with the star on the side. Never worked. I don't know what Dallas was thinking on this one. Just awful. And this one I traditionally see on the top of the list of most awful jerseys. The Mighty Duck coming out of the side there. Again, they forsake the traditional circular or whatever patch in the middle for screen printed, taking up more space on the jersey. Just horrific, just awful. But the National Hockey League saw the error of its ways. Again, I don't think they should be ashamed for this. It's part of their past. I say this all the time. These guys right here, the New York Islanders, had the fisherman jerseys and were pretty awful at the time. I loved them at the time. I love them even more now. I know they're making a little bit of a comeback, and I could not be more excited about it. In fact, if you buy a certain ticket package with the Islanders now, you actually get a replica of the old fisherman jersey, which I think is just tremendous and speaks to the point that there is a segment of Islander fans out there that grew up with that jersey, just like the segment of Islander fans that grew up with the cup-winning teams, and they respect and they love those jerseys. They know that they're goofy and silly and kind of crazy looking, and yeah, they look like the Gordon's Fishermen, but they're kind of proud of them. So is Johnny Boychuk. He's got a hat coming out with that design. It's super cool. I can't wait until he actually officially releases it. But the point is this. It's part of your history. It's part of your legacy. Just embrace it and move on. There were some mistakes made in the past. Just embrace it and move on. But the National Hockey League got it right this time around with Adidas. The Reebok jerseys were cool. The Adidas jerseys were even better. It's amazing. They're just getting it right with jerseys. And then you get this awfulness coming from Nike, which is just terrible. Just terrible. I mean, I don't even know. This gradient on the don't mess with the sleeves. Look at the numbering. Look at the gradient on the numbering. Just awful. Just awful. Poor hockey players. This is why the NHL's not going. They're like, oh, we're not going to wear those things. Those are terrible. Terrible job from Nike. I don't know what they were thinking when they were putting these together. They were just awful. I like spending a little bit of time talking about hockey jerseys. I feel like that's something that doesn't really happen on mainstream media when it comes to hockey, shows, and nobody really spends time on jerseys. I like really getting deep into jerseys and how we got to certain places with some of them. So thought I'd start off the show with that because that was pretty big news today. The releasing of the Olympic hockey jerseys from Nike, just terrible. I'm glad Nike's not involved with the National Hockey League. I don't ever want to see them around the National Hockey League. They can stay out for all I care. Couple of quick hits here for you as we take a look around the news of the National Hockey League. I want to just mention this. Brian Boyle coming back for the Devils tonight, playing in the game. I think that's tremendous. Boyle, I was shocked that he made it to free agency with the Leafs. I thought for sure they would have held on to him. I just don't know if it was a fit or it worked. I was shocked that Tampa would trade him to begin with. I think he was a huge asset for them when they made that big run in the playoffs. And I just think he's the kind of player that you want on your team all the time. He's tough. He's rugged. He's smart. He can score. He's a good guy in the community. Was very sad to hear about his illness, but I'm happy that he's going to be back in the lineup. And congratulations to the Devils for that. I expect the Devils to be an even tougher team to play against, and they're already sitting pretty high up in the standings. So good signing by the Devils. And good for them coming in there and making that happen. Ryan Getzlaf was placed on injured reserve. He's going to miss at least 3 games. He was hit in his left eye with a puck, so he's out. Shane Gostisbehere and Nolan Patrick are day-to-day with injuries in Philadelphia. And Matt Dumba gave away the puck in his own zone in the last game when Minnesota played Winnipeg, and they wound up losing that game by a score of 2-1. He was benched for a while there. Matt Dumba not doing well in Minnesota. I bring that up because as we sort of transition here into rumors, I bring up Matt Dumba because I think he's a kid with a lot of skill and a lot of talent. It's never really worked for him in Minnesota. He's been relegated down to that third D pairing. I don't know if there's an issue with the coaching staff or if he's just in his head at this point. Maybe Minnesota is too much of a hockey bed. I think he's the kind of player that can be better somewhere else. I think you're going to see Matt Dumba being moved, and I think it'll be good for Matt Dumba as well as Minnesota. Now what they get in return, whether they'll want something in return, I'm not sure. He's not attached to any rumors. This is just me saying, Matt Dumba's for a while been not that great and not really the apple of anybody's eye over there on the Minnesota coaching staff. And with the demand of so many defensemen all around the league, Montreal specifically could use a player like Matt Dumba, get him out of that situation, get him somewhere else, get him in a new jersey, get him feeling good about himself. And I think you can see better results. I think Matt Dumba is maybe a season or 2 away from maturing mentally. That's a big step. He obviously has all the physical attributes, but especially with defensemen are like, they just develop a little bit later. They just take a little bit longer. And I think Matt Dumba is taking a little bit longer to develop, and it's not going well for him in Minnesota right now. And I think if somebody were to step up and acquire him, they'd be making an investment in their future, because I think he's the kind of guy that's just going to pop later on. Defensemen do that. Victor Hedman took a little while to go there. And that was particularly tough for Tampa because the Islanders picked John Tavares and he worked out super well. Matt Duchene, I think he went 3rd in that draft. He emerged as an offensive talent, and it was a little while for Hedman to get in there and get going. But now you look at Tampa and what they're doing, and Victor Hedman is a huge part of that. He's that rock defenseman, number 1A. Shea Weber, Chris Letang, you go around the league and you name all the teams that have that good number 1 defenseman who's a rock and who's always there. And that's what Victor Hedman is. I don't know if Matt Dumba is going to be that. I don't think so, but I think he can get close. I think he's definitely a top 4 defenseman if he gets the chance to do so. Checking the rumor mills, everybody is diving a little bit deeper in this. Let's bring the whole New York Rangers front office up to Montreal to take in a game. A lot of people are dropping in and giving their opinions. I thought this was pretty interesting from Larry Brooks in the New York Post. He believes The reason for the Rangers scouting the Canadiens Senators game the other night was due diligence on Alex Galchenyuk. He also said the Blue Shirts are known to like Montreal forward Andrew Shaw. And while the narrative out of Montreal claims the Rangers will do anything to land Habs captain Max Pacioretty, but wonders why, citing Pacioretty's poor performance in last spring's playoffs series between the two clubs. Now, I had never heard this, and I read all the rumors. I had never heard Max Pacioretty being on the block. I don't think the Canadiens are going to trade Max Pacioretty. I actually commended Max Pacioretty the other day for being an outstanding part of Montreal, sort of digging in now and fighting back. And again, you take a look, they're winning 3 of 4. You know, they're getting in there. I think Max Pacioretty has been a huge part of that. He's the only forward that you have in Montreal who's not underachieving. Did he have a bad playoff run? Sure. But he helped get him there. He's the only one that's scoring 30 goals for this team right now. Brendan Gallagher, Alex Galchenyuk. You know, you look at the rest of their lineup, Plekanec, they are all underachieving forwards except for Pacioretty. And he's doing it with very little help on his line as well. So why Montreal want to trade him? I don't know if Larry Brooks put that in there to get some attention or what the case is. I just don't see the Habs parting ways with Max Pacioretty. And again, he's their captain too. So that's kind of a big deal for me. I do like that he mentioned that they are in love with Andrew Shaw. I think, again, if you could land Shaw and Galchenyuk, you're in better shape than if you just take one over the other. I don't think Shaw really helps you alone, and I don't think Galchenyuk certainly helps you alone. Far be it from me, though. That is definitely a New York Ranger move. Bring in a dynamic, elusive forward like Alex Galchenyuk and hope for the best. That's the kind of player the Rangers fall all over. They love Kovalov, Bore. You take a look on down the line, that high-end, high maintenance forward who underachieves or, has some issue or whatever the case is. If they could overpay him and bring him to Madison Square Garden, the Rangers love to do things like that. Now, I didn't mention this last time, but I'm trying not to have that sort of an attitude because Jeff Gordon's the general manager. He should certainly have a chance to put his stamp on the team. But Glenn Sather is also still pretty involved with the team, and that is definitely a move that Glenn Sather would do. Again, change of scenery might be the thing there for the Rangers, but I don't know. There's just something about it where I like both of them coming over, give the Rangers toughness and a dynamic forward who, if it works out, and it's great. Better than just one of them coming over. And maybe not having the other one to be there to sort of be that anchor. I think Galchenyuk will be better if Shaw is out there protecting him. The Rangers don't really have a lot of toughness. Kevin Hayes is tough, but he's trying so hard to be an offensive forward. He's losing some of the grit that got him there. So that's another issue for the Rangers. And again, with all of this, I don't know what the Rangers are really offering in return. I don't think that Marc Bergevin is going to give up Galchenyuk for nothing. Larry Brooks also cites that Kerry Kreider, Chris Kreider, and JT Miller aren't on the trade table. He wonders if the Habs would want Matt Zuccarello or perhaps defenseman Brady Shea. Brady Shea might be interesting. I think Matt Zuccarello is a tremendous asset. I think this all just points to the Rangers need to break it all down and start over again. Which is an interesting point because was it Elliot Friedman? No, it was Darren Dreger or Pierre LeBrun. Pierre LeBrun was on TSN 1040 in Vancouver, and he says that Jeff Gordon and Marc Bergevin and Pierre Dorian for the Senators are amongst the league's most active general managers. But he did say, or was that Dreger? Hang on here. Open for business. I might have lost it. I did read it somewhere in the rumors today, and now I'm looking through my notes and I can't find it, that the Rangers aren't interested really in breaking it all down and building it up all over again. Like they want to continue to add on the run. Here it is. It was Elliot Friedman on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, not TSN 1040, for those of you keeping score at home of your Canadian radio stations. It was Elliot Friedman who said he doesn't think that the Rangers want to tear it down, but hope to add some young pieces. I don't know how you do that unless you're tearing it down. Nash has got to go. I'm not saying Lundqvist has to go, but he's your best asset at getting something in return. He'll come back. I think, by the way, Lundqvist in the Golden Knights game was killer. And good for the Rangers. They were great in the Golden Knights game. They scored 4 goals in the end of, that was really, a lot of people are saying, hey, that's Alain Vigneault's last game if he loses it. And they went out and scored 4 goals in the final period. Now, granted, Maxime Lagacé, I heard it was Lagacé, then he wanted to be referred to as Legacy, and now he wants to be, or vice versa, he wants to be Legacy now instead of Lagacé. I don't know. I just think that the Rangers went out there and played their hearts off for AV. And I think that should be a message to management not to switch coaches right now. That doesn't help you. I don't see the Rangers going on a 10-5 tear with Alain Vigneault looking for a job. I don't see it. But to get back to my point, it's Lundqvist that's going to get you the best return if you're the New York Rangers. Everything else is so young, you don't want to really part with it. But I do think that they can part with JT Miller, Kevin Hayes, Chris Kreider maybe, Jimmy Vesey. I think they can move one of these guys. The question is who do you move? It's 3 of the same type of player. And you don't want to give up Vesey and he takes off somewhere else and then you're stuck with Kevin Hayes who never turns it around, or you give up Kevin Hayes and he goes crazy somewhere else and Vesey never really turns it on. It's a tough position for a general manager. None of these guys have, tarot cards to look at the future here. But that's a little bit like the vultures are circling on these teams, All the NHL insiders are just going crazy like Rangers and Canadians, and they're so desperate, and they're going to make a move. I think you'll get to that 20-game mark. Maybe they'll last past Thanksgiving and see, but I think you're going to see some changes from those teams. Interesting to hear that Matt Zuccarello's name is being thrown around there because I think he's one of the guys that can help you, but although he's not having the killer year this year, I think Matt Zuccarello can bring you a little bit of a return for the New York Rangers for certain. I also want to mention this quickly, and again, I'm holding off on really getting into the New York Islanders and talking about their whole arena deal. I know it's a big deal. I know the Tavares contract is a big deal. There's a lot to get into there, but I do want to mention this, that Jonathan Ledecky, who out of Scott Malkin and Ledecky, it seems like Ledecky is the Charles Wang of this scenario. Remember Charles Wang and Sanjay Kumar brought the Islanders together and nobody ever heard of Sanjay. It was just Charles. And then eventually Sanjay got into a little trouble and he wound up leaving. It looks like it's the same thing here with Malkin and Ledecky. It looks like Malkin is going to be the real mouthpiece for the franchise. Ledecky is going to be the mouthpiece, not so much Malkin. But, they went around and they were touting the Islanders' new practice facility locker room, which cost a reportedly $7 million. $7 million for a locker room. Jesus. That's a hell of an investment. You can see it. It's pretty beautiful there. Now, again, a little bit of background here for you guys. I live on Long Island. I do a radio show here on Long Island. And I was a former employee of the New York Islanders. Started off as an intern and eventually became an employee. And I was there during the time that they were at the Nassau Coliseum, which was a dump. I got to see all of it in all of its dumpy, leaky glory. There were leaks everywhere all the time. But the Islanders at that time had a renovated locker room when I was there with the team. And it looked really nice. It looked super nice compared to the rest of the Coliseum. But it paled in comparison for the rest of the league. And even the visitors' facilities were just downright awful, which I never really had a problem with because to hell with the visitors. They shouldn't be treated good anyway, But that being said, they had really bad facilities at the time, even though they were improved upon facilities. You could definitely see that they were making some concessions compared to what other teams were getting. And now, you see Edmonton and Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. They have these palaces. And they're just these beautiful, comfortable, Pittsburgh, they're just these wonderful facilities where players want to go. Don't forget, and again, I got to see this firsthand when I was, working for the league. This is an all-day thing with the players. They're at the rink at 9 o'clock in the morning. Some of them are there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Coaches get there at 6 or 7. That's how they roll. And they're there early in the morning, and, they're stretching, they're getting ready. They're on the ice at 10 for a skate. After that, they'll do some video, so they're at these facilities all day long. That's their office. And then they go home and they have a nap. They have a meal there, and then they go home and they nap, and then they come back and they stretch and they get ready and they do it all over again. They get warmed up for the game at night, but it's a long day to be a hockey player. So you want these facilities to be really comfortable for them. And it looks like the Islanders have invested in their practice facility, at least, which, by the way, for those of you who aren't familiar with the area, the Islanders are playing in Brooklyn, and their practice facility, you literally can throw a rock from where the Coliseum is to where their practice facility is. I mean, it's right down Hempstead Turnpike. It's super close, which is why a lot of teams really don't care. I mean, I think a lot of players really don't care that they're playing in Brooklyn because, it happens with the Rangers, too. The Rangers practice, are they still in Rye, or did they move? I don't even know now. But they're only at the Garden for games, for game days and things like that, so a lot of the teams, Washington, D.C. is another one. They practice in the suburbs, and, their games are in a city, so the Caps have the same issues. All the teams deal with that kind of thing. I don't think Brooklyn really bothers anybody. It's just that the rink is not really made for the Islanders. But now they do have a nice practice facility, and it's the reason why I brought this up. It's right by the Coliseum. Which speaks to the point that they're really going to be back as a Long Island-based team once they get Belmont going, which I think they will, but we'll wait to see about that. But this whole thing about them getting a new practice facility and the locker room being all souped up from where it was, even though they just built this new, they just built the Northwell Health, whatever. It leads into this momentum thing of, look at this new facility, and we're going to get we hope to continue this with Belmont, and, the players are going to have top-notch thing. Again, remember, this is all a message to the fans. Fans don't really care. They want to know the players are taken care of. They don't really know. They don't care for all the details, but this is all an indirect message to John Tavares and the players, and the players that aren't even on the team right now that may want to court in the offseason, so on and so forth. So, but you take a look around, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, just top-notch facility. Really nice setup. Most of the teams you'll see now are going with this curved sort of setting in some way, shape, or form. A lot of teams will do a full-on circle. Islanders went with a little bit of a straight thing here and a little bit of a curve, just so they can see the big board and the lineup card and everything like that. So just a different way of doing it. But I noticed that the curved way, so that the guys all the way down here can see what's going on, is super important. Got all the jerseys lined up there. Logo. Really nice aesthetic. Really nice design. This silver holes punched in it deal where you can faintly see, the tradition up on the wall. That looks super good. Of course, you're never going to escape the Cup years if you're an Islander fan, nor should you. It fatigues me sometimes because I feel like they focus a little bit too much on those glory years. I'm certainly proud of them, but I certainly want some new ones. I don't want to rely on them too much. The coaches area there's the stick area. A little shot of the gym here, where they get their skates sharpened. Whirlpools with TVs. Got the NHL Network up on the TV. You need all these things to lure the top-notch players in there. Look at their video room. Really nice with the stadium-style seating. Looks like a movie theater. You don't even want to know what the video... I mean, there was no video room in the Coliseum. I used to see players sitting on the floor, watching video in the coach's room. I mean, this is no way you handle $5, $6, $7, $8 million athletes. You don't want them sitting, legs crossed on the floor. That's not a good investment over time. If you bought a really expensive car, you wouldn't, trash it right away. You take care of it. That's what you got to do with these athletes. And you can complain and be like, oh, these guys are so pampered. Hey, it's all an investment. I really thought they did a nice job with the lounge area, which again is super important as these guys are going to have breakfast in the morning and then meals in the afternoon together. You know, you got the big TV there. You got plenty of places to sit, both high top at a bar and a table, and then sort of more loungier chairs up front. So there's a little tour of the Islanders practice facility, just so you guys get a look of a standard now in the NHL. I thought they did a really good job, really bringing it up to where the team needs to be. Now, a lot of teams have this at their, game facilities as well. And that's something that the Islanders are lacking, obviously, but they will get there. I'm told the campus, if you will, at the Barclays Center is nice, but I don't think it's as nice as this. And at $7 million, you can understand why. The Islanders got everything they needed out of those $7 million. All right, that's it for this quick hit. Hope you enjoyed a little delve into the league there. Trying to give you a little something different than what you're hearing on some of the other shows, which, by the way, I consume all the other shows, Hockey Central and NHL Now and the NHL Network and, all the things that are out there, and try and grab as much as possible. I like tonight's show was good. It was a little bit different, jerseys and practice facilities and touching on some of the rumors and, spend a little time on Brian Boyle and what he brings to the Devils. I think he'll be a major player here. I think the Devils are going to be a legit problem for the other teams in the Metropolitan Division this year, which is really shaking out to being a tough division. So, and the other thing I want to just mention quickly here is this season's been fun as hell so far. We're really new into launching the Hockey Talk Show. The support's been enormous, especially on Facebook. I want to thank all the Facebook followers for coming on board so quickly here. But, and of course, the podcast numbers are great. I keep saying that, but I'm really blown away by them. But it's been a fun season so far. I hate to say this, but the meltdowns of the Rangers and the Canadiens have really made things interesting. The struggles early on right now of Edmonton and the Caps and, some of these teams that you thought were shoo-ins and the Devils not really being in it, but bam, all of a sudden look out because they're up at the top of the Eastern Conference at 8-2. Some of these things have been some nice, pleasantly welcome surprises. I thought that this top was going to be Washington, Pittsburgh, Columbus. And right now it's Jersey, Columbus, and the Islanders. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's only 10, 12 games into the season, but still, it's an interesting dynamic. We're off to an interesting start. You take a look at these guys down here. Just Montreal, Buffalo with all the improvements they've made. Jack Eichel, they're still sitting at the bottom. The Rangers, the Carolinas, not what we thought they were. They're sitting at 500. Washington is struggling here. And it's the same for the West. Nobody picked Vegas to be up there at 8-3, even though they just dropped 2 games in a row. I didn't pick Vancouver to be a top 3 team. I thought they'd be fighting for a wild card spot. And you go here, and here's a big surprise. Edmonton, 3-6. Slow start for them. Again, it's not over, but still. Chicago, sitting at 5-5, where they have shot to the top of the standings in the past, 8 seasons, and sat up there for the longest time, and they're struggling. It's just been a little bit of an interesting take. And of course, Arizona, poor Arizona, going 1-11. Jeez, feeling bad for the Arizona Coyotes. They won a game 2, and then they lost the next game to Detroit. So struggles will continue in Arizona. Look for them to sell off some assets coming up here, but they're not going to give up any of their younger guys. And they do have a goalie issue to deal with, but we'll see what happens with them. Anyway, just want to thank you. Glad we were able to get into some different topics for tonight. Again, spread the word if you can. Share this stuff on social media. I asked for that last show, and I saw a couple of shares. Let's keep that going. Share it to all your hockey friends. Just post it up. Tell people to like the page so we can grow this thing into the massive hockey community that we all want it to be. And if you're listening on the iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or TuneIn Radio, make sure you rate and review those podcasts so that they climb up the ranks of their podcast charts. That is it for this episode of the Hockey Talk Show. Again, hockeytalkshow.com for all the other details, and I'll see you guys on the next shift.